can shut the door. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. By divine providence, Prabhupada decided to stop the readings that we were doing together on Fan the Spark page here in his room. Now we've moved the live studios for the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books because he's been doing some videoing for projects that he has going on. And I want to say something to all of you, welcome you back. It may take time for everybody to come back together and become regulars again of this fan page, daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I feel divine providence has brought us back together again. I'm very happy to be with you, reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam in installments, smaller installments, a little bit slower, but I'm very happy to be back with you. We welcome all of you back from all over the world, and who knows, maybe we have more followers now as a result of our readings with Vaisheshika Prabhu during our Kartik Vrat, where we were able to read the whole Krishna book, 8th canto and 9th canto in 1 month, less than a month. It's very ecstatic. Okay, so it's also divine providence that we're starting up our readings again, and we are taking up where we left off on the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and it is the 33rd chapter, the Rasa Dance, the pinnacle of intimacy and devotional service, and most elevated topic. But before we do, let's read our daily recitation of Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and meditating on this every day. It will help us to go deeper into the subject, into our hearts. Srimad-Bhagavata Mihima Stotram, from the Sri Krishna Leela Stava, and it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwan Duditaditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nisdada Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premdarit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So by divine providence again, here we are in the live studios in my room in Govardhan, my base. I've lived here for almost 25 years, and it's home. I'm with 3 confidants this evening. The readings that we were doing in Vaisheshika Prabhu's room they've kind of dispersed a little bit. Devotees have gone their ways, and Vaisheshika Prabhu is, like I said before, engaging in recording videos for his different preaching projects, and that leaves us with the cream of the crop. We've got Pranata Karuna, got Mahendra, and Abhaya, our new initiate. And we're here together to hear, and again, divine providence. We're starting up the reading again at the 33rd chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Rasa Dance. This chapter describes Lord Krishna's Rasa Dance, which he enjoyed with his beloved girlfriends in the forests along the Yamuna River. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is most expert in the knowledge of transcendental moods. In the company of the gopis, who were tightly bound to him by the ropes of affection and totally dedicated to his service, the Lord expanded himself into numerous forms. The gopis became intoxicated with their enthusiasm to enjoy the Rasa dance, and thus they began satisfying Krishna's senses by singing, dancing, and gesturing amorously. The sweet voices of the gopis filled all directions. Even after Lord Krishna manifested himself in numerous forms, each gopi thought that he was standing next to her alone. Gradually, the gopis became fatigued from the continuous dancing and singing, and each of them placed her arm on the shoulder of Krishna, standing beside her. Some gopis smelled and kissed Krishna's arm, which bore the fragrance of the lotus and was anointed with sandalwood paste. Others put Krishna's hand on their bodies, and yet others gave Krishna pleasure by embracing him lovingly. Lord Krishna, being the Supreme Absolute Truth, is the only actual enjoyer and object of enjoyment. Although he is one without a second, he expands himself into many forms to increase his personal pastimes. Therefore, great scholars say that Krishna's Rasa Leela is like a child's playing with his own reflection. Sri Krishna is self-satisfied and fully endowed with inconceivable transcendental opulences. When he exhibits such pastimes as the Rasa Leela, all living beings, from Brahma down to the blades of grass, become merged in the ocean of astonishment. When Maharaj Parikshit heard the narration of Krishna's conjugal pastimes with the gopis, which superficially resembled the activities of lusty, wanton persons, he expressed a doubt to the great devotee, Srila Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev dispelled this doubt by stating, since Sri Krishna is the absolute enjoyer, such pastimes as these can never be contaminated by any fault. But if anyone other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead tries to enjoy such pastimes, he will suffer the same fate that someone other than Lord Rudra would suffer if he attempted to drink an ocean of poison. Moreover, even one who only thinks of imitating Lord Krishna's Rasa Leela will certainly suffer misfortune. We'll repeat that sentence. Moreover, Even one who only thinks of imitating Lord Krishna's Rasa will certainly suffer misfortune. The Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna, is within the hearts of all living entities as their indwelling witness. When out of His mercy He exhibits His intimate pastimes to His devotees, these activities are never besmirched by mundane imperfection. Any living being who hears of the spontaneous loving attraction the gopis felt for Lord Krishna will have his desires for material sense gratification destroyed at the root, and will develop his natural propensity for serving the Supreme Lord, the spiritual master, and the Lord's devotees. Hare Krishna. That's the summary of the chapter. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, when the cowherd girls heard the Supreme Personality of Godhead speak these most charming words, they forgot their distress, caused by separation from Him. Touching His transcendental limbs, they felt all their desires fulfilled. So we'll remember, just to plug us in, because it's been a while since we heard the chapter before. The gopis, Krishna left the Rasa Dance because of the gopis' pride in thinking that they were special. Then he was with Radharani, and Radharani began to feel proud because she was special. And then the gopis got together and they were all lamenting and feeling such deep separation from Krishna that they began to actually act out His pastimes and became so absorbed in thoughts of Him that they actually they were pastime. And then finally, as a result of their intense prayers to Krishna to please rejoin them, he appeared again. Text 2. There on the Yamuna's banks, Lord Govinda then began the pastime of the Rasa Dance in the company of those jewels among women, the faithful gopis, who joyfully linked their arms together. Text 3. The festive Rasa Dance commenced, with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded Himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the Rasa Dance, and soon they crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. Purport. Bilva Mangal Thakur, Srila Bilva Mangal Thakur, has written the following verse about the Rasa Dance. Anganam, Anganam, Antada, Madhavo, Madhavam, Madhavam, Janarinanganaha, Itam Akalpite Mandale Madhyaga, Sanjagao, Vinuna, Deviki Nandanaha. Lord Madhava was situated between each pair of gopis, and the gopi was situated between each pair of his manifestations. And Sri Krishna, the son of Devaki, also appeared in the middle of the circle, playing upon his flute and singing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the gopis, maddened by love, were unable to understand that Sri Krishna had expanded Himself so He could personally dance with each of them. Each gopi saw one manifestation of Krishna. The demigods and their wives, however, could see all His different manifestations as they watched the Rasa Dance from their airplanes, and thus they were completely astonished. Text 4. Kettle drums then resounded in the sky, while flowers rained down, and the chief Gandharvas and their wives sang Lord Krishna's spotless glories. Purport. As stated here, Lord Krishna's glory in dancing the Rasa dance is pure spiritual bliss. The demigods in heaven, in charge of maintaining propriety in the universe, ecstatically accepted the Rasa dance as the ultimate religious affair. Completely different from the perverted reflection of romance we find in this mundane world. Text 5. A tumultuous sound arose from the armlets, ankle bells, and waist bells of the gopis as they sported with their beloved Krishna in the circle of the Rasa dance. 6. In the midst of the dancing gopis, Lord Krishna appeared most brilliant, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that Devaki, besides being the name of Vasudev's wife, is also the name of Mother Yashoda, as stated in the Adi Purana. Dve namni Nanda Bharyaya Yashoda Devaki Cha. The wife of Nanda has two names, Yashoda and Devaki. We have another comment by our acharyas that say that the reason was because of how much attached and how much affection Yashoda had for Devaki. Text 7. As the gopis sang in praise of Krishna, their feet danced, their hands gestured, and their eyebrows moved with playful smiles. With their braids and belts tied tight, their waists bending, their faces perspiring, the garments on their breasts moving this way and that, and their earrings swinging on their cheeks, Lord Krishna's young consorts shone like streaks of lightning in a mass of clouds. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that according to the analogy of lightning flashing in clouds, the perspiration on the lovely faces of the gopis resembled drops of mist, and their singing resembled thunder. The word agrantaya may also be read agrantayaha, meaning loosened. Let me clarify that this is not so easy to read. The word agrantaya, with a long A at the beginning, may also be read agrantaya, with a short A at the beginning, meaning loosened. This would indicate that although the gopis began the dance with their hair and belts tightly drawn, these gradually slackened and loosened. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the gopis were expert at exhibiting mudras, precise hand gestures that express feelings or convey meanings associated with the theme of a performance. Thus, sometimes Krishnas and the gopis would artistically move their interlocked arms together, and sometimes they would separate arms and exhibit mudras to act out the meaning of the songs they were singing. The word pada nyasai indicates that the gopis artistically and gracefully placed the steps of their dancing feet in an enchanting way. And the words sasmritayar bru vilasayar indicate that the romantic movements of their eyebrows, smiling with love, were most charming to behold. Text 8. Eager to enjoy conjugal love, their throats colored with various pigments, the gopis sang loudly and danced. They were overjoyed by Krishna's touch, and they sang songs that filled the entire universe. Purport. According to an authoritative book on music called Sangita Sara, Tabantada Eva Raga Surya Vatyo Jiva Jataya Teshu Dotasha. I'm going to read this again. According to an authoritative book on music called Sangita Tara, and then the verse begins, Tabante Eva Raga Surya Vatyo jivajataya teshu shodasha sahasri pura gopikrita vara. There are as many musical ragas as there are species of life. Very interesting. Among these ragas are 16,000 principal ones, which were manifested by the gopis. Thus the gopis created 16,000 different ragas or musical modes, and these have subsequently been disseminated throughout the world. The words yad gitenidam avritam also indicate that even today, devotees throughout the world sing the praises of Krishna, following the examples of the gopis. Text 9. One gopi, joining Lord Mukunda in his singing, sang pure melodious tones that rose harmoniously above his. Krishna was pleased and showed great appreciation for her performance, saying, "Excellent, excellent." Then another gopi repeated the same melody, but in a special metrical pattern, and Krishna praised her also. Text 10. When one gopi grew tired from the Rasa Dance, she turned to Krishna, standing by her side, holding a baton, and grasped his shoulder with her arm. The dancing had loosened her bracelets and the flowers in her hair. Purport. The previous verse states that Sri Krishna honored the gopis for their dancing and singing. And in this verse we see how the gopis responded by dealing intimately and confidently with him. Here a tired gopi held on to Krishna's shoulder with her arm, resting against him. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that the word gada in this verse indicates a suitable for a dancing master. Lord Krishna brought this item of paraphernalia to enhance his enjoyment of the Rasa Dance. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that the gopi mentioned here is Srimati Radharani, whereas the two gopis mentioned in the previous verse are in order Vishaka and Lalita. Text 11. Upon the shoulder of one gopi, Krishna placed his arm, whose natural blue lotus fragrance was mixed with that of the sandalwood pulp, anointing it. As the gopi relished that fragrance, her bodily hair stood on end in jubilation, and she kissed his arm. Text 12. Next to Krishna's cheek, one gopi put her own, beautified by the effulgence of her earrings, which glittered as she danced. Krishna then carefully gave her the betel nut he was chewing. Text 13. Another gopi became fatigued as she danced and sang, the bells on her ankles and waist tinkling. So she placed upon her breasts the comforting lotus hand of Lord Achyuta, who was standing by her side. Text 14. Having attained as their intimate lover, Lord Achyuta, the exclusive consort of the goddess of fortune, the gopis enjoyed great pleasure. They sang his glories as he held their necks with his arms. 15. Enhancing the beauty of the gopis' faces were the lotus flowers behind their ears, the locks of hair decorating their cheeks, and drops of perspiration. The reverberation of their armlets and ankle bells made a loud musical sound, and their chaplets scattered. Thus the gopis danced with the Supreme Lord in the arena of the Rasa Dance, as swarms of bees danced in accompaniment. In this way, Lord Krishna, the original Lord Narayana, master of the goddess of fortune, took pleasure in the company of the young women of Braja by embracing them, caressing them, and glancing lovingly at them as he smiled his broad, playful smiles. It was just as if a child were playing with his own reflection. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments as follows on this verse. Lord Krishna alone is the Supreme Absolute Truth, and His potencies are unlimited. All these potencies, taking personal forms, engage Lord Krishna in His pastimes. Just as the opulent manifestation of His one supreme transcendental potency manifests all the countless potencies of the Lord, so in the Rasa Dance, Krishna manifests Himself as many times as there are various potencies represented by the gopis. Everything is Krishna, but by His desire, His spiritual energy, yoga, manifests the gopis. When His internal potency thus produces such pastimes from the enchantment of His transcendental emotions, it is just like a young boy playing with his own reflection. But since these pastimes are created by His spiritual potency, they are eternal and self-manifesting. So this means, just a comment, this means simultaneously it's like Krishna playing with Himself in the mirror, which means there's no lust. That's the meaning of it. There's no lust. When a child's playing with his own, reflection in the mirror, there's no lust. So that's the meaning of that part of the analogy, that symbolism. But at the same time, these potencies, these manifestations are eternal and self-manifesting. So it's not that it wasn't there and then it's there. Like every time Krishna wants to enjoy, the gopis came into existence. It's not like that. They're still individual personalities, eternally. The potency, the personification of Krishna's pleasure-giving or internal potency. And this is the ultimate manifestation of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, in which Krishna is one with and different from himself and his energies. Text 17. Their senses overwhelmed by the joy of having his physical association, the gopis could not prevent their hair, their dresses, and the clothes covering their breasts from becoming disheveled, their garlands and ornaments scattered, O hero of the Kuru dynasty. 18. The wives of the demigods, observing Krishna's playful activities from their airplanes, were entranced and became agitated with lust. Indeed, even the moon and his entourage, the stars, became astonished. Text 19. Expanding himself as many times as there were cowherd women to associate with, the Supreme Lord, though self-satisfied, playfully enjoyed their company. Purport. As Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti points out, it has already been explained that Lord Krishna is eternally free from all material desire, perfect on the platform of spiritual self-realization. Text 20. Seeing that the gopis were fatigued from conjugal enjoyment, my dear king, merciful Krishna lovingly wiped their faces with his comforting hand. Text 21. The gopis honored their hero with smiling glances sweetened by the beauty of their cheeks and the effulgence of their curly locks and glittering golden earrings. Overjoyed from the touch of his fingernails, they chanted the glories of his all-auspicious, transcendental pastimes. 22. Lord Krishna's garland had been crushed during his conjugal dalliance with the gopis and colored vermilion by the kumkum powder on their breasts. To dispel the fatigue of the gopis, Krishna entered the water of the Yamuna, followed swiftly by bees who were singing like the best of the Gandharvas. He appeared like a lordly elephant, entering the water to relax in the company of his consorts. Indeed, the Lord had transgressed all worldly and Vedic morality, just as a powerful elephant might break the dikes in a paddy field. Text 23. My dear king, in the water Krishna found himself being splashed on all sides by the laughing gopis, who looked at him with love. As the demigods worshipped him by showering flowers from their airplanes, the self-satisfied Lord took pleasure in playing like the king of the elephants. 24. Then the Lord strolled through a small forest on the bank of the Yamuna. This forest was filled to its limits with breezes carrying the fragrances of all the flowers growing on the land and in the water. Followed by his entourage of bees and beautiful women, Lord Krishna appeared like an intoxicated elephant with his she-elephants. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti, it is implicit here that after playing in the water, Lord Krishna had his body massaged, and that he then dressed himself in his favorite clothing before resuming his pastimes with the gopis. Text 25. Although the gopis were firmly attached to Lord Krishna, whose desires are always fulfilled, the Lord was not internally affected by any mundane sex desire. Still, to perform his pastimes, the Lord took advantage of all those moonlit autumn nights which inspire poetic descriptions of transcendental affairs. Purport. It is difficult to translate into English the word rasa, which indicates the spiritual bliss derived from one's loving relationship with Lord Krishna. That bliss is experienced in the midst of spiritual pastimes with the Lord and his devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that great Vaishnava poets like Vyasa, Parashara, Jayadev, Lila Shuka, Bilvamangal Thakur, Govardhanacharya, and Srila Rupa Goswami have tried in their poetry to describe the conjugal affairs of the Lord. These descriptions are never complete, however, since the Lord's pastimes are unlimited. Thus, the attempt to glorify such pastimes is still going on and will go on forever. Lord Krishna arranged an extraordinary season of beautiful autumn nights to his loving affection, and those autumn nights have inspired transcendental poets since time immemorial. 26. Parikshit Maharaj said, O Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, has descended to this earth along with his plenary portion to destroy irreligion and re-establish religious principles. Indeed, he is the original speaker, follower, and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated them by touching other men's wives? Purport. As Shukadev Goswami was speaking, King Parikshit noticed that some persons seated in the assembly in the bank of the Ganges were harboring doubt about the Lord's activities. These doubtful persons were karmis, jnanis, and others who were not devotees of the Lord. To clear up their doubts, King Parikshit asks this question on their behalf. Text 28. O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly. Purport. It is clear to the enlightened that these doubts will arise in the minds and hearts of persons unfamiliar with the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, since time immemorial, great sages and enlightened kings, like Parikshit Maharaj, have openly raised these questions to provide the authoritative answer for all posterity. 29. Shukadeva Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them. It's like fire, which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Purport. Great potent personalities are not ruined by apparent transgression of moral principles. Sridhar Swami mentions the examples of Brahma, Indra, Soma, Vishwamrita, and others. A fire devours all that is fed into it, but the fire does not change its nature. Similarly, a great personality does not fall down from his position by an irregularity in behavior. In the following verse, however, Shukadeva Goswami makes it clear that if we try to imitate the great personalities ruling the universe, the result will be catastrophic. Text 30. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Purport. Lord Shiva, or Rudra, once drank an ocean of poison, and the result was that an attractive blue mark appeared on his neck. But if we were to drink even a drop of such poison, we would die immediately. Just as we should not imitate this pastime of Shiva's, we should not imitate Lord Krishna's activities with the gopis. We should clearly understand that while Lord Krishna certainly descends to demonstrate religious principles, he also descends to demonstrate that he is God and we are not. That also must be demonstrated. The Lord enjoys with his internal potency and thus attracts us to the spiritual platform. We should not try to imitate Krishna, for we will suffer severely. Text 31. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions. Purport. The word Ishvara is usually defined in Sanskrit dictionaries as Lord, Master, Ruler, and also as capable, potent to perform. Srila Prabhupada often translated the word Ishvara as controller, which brilliantly synthesizes the two fundamental concepts of Ishvara, namely a master or ruler and a capable or potent person. A master may be incompetent, but a controller is a master or lord who in fact makes things happen. The Parameshwara, the supreme Ishvara, the supreme controller, is of course God, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Although people in general, especially in the Western countries, are not aware of the fact, powerful personalities control our universe. The modern impersonal concept of the universe depicts an almost totally lifeless cosmos in which the earth floats meaninglessly. Thus we are left with the dubious ultimate purpose of preserving and reproducing our genetic code, which has its own ultimate purpose of adding another link to the meaningless chain of events by again reproducing itself. In contrast to this sterile, meaningless world concocted by ignorant materialists, the actual universe is full of life, personal life, and in fact, full of God, who pervades and supports all that exists. The essence of reality is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His personal relationship with the innumerable living beings, of whom we are samples. Some of the living beings are trapped in the illusion of materialism or identification with the material body, while others are liberated, aware of their eternal spiritual nature. A third class comprises those progressing in spiritual realization from the materialistic state of ignorance to the enlightened state of Krishna consciousness. Reality is ultimately personal and divine, and therefore it is not surprising that as the Vedic literature reveals to us, our universe and other universes are managed by great personalities, just as our city, state, and country are managed by empowered personalities. When we democratically award a particular politician the right to govern, we vote for him because he has exhibited something we call leadership ability. We think he'll get the job done. In other words, it is only after an individual acquires the power to govern that we vote for him. Our vote does not make him a leader, but rather recognizes a power coming from some other source. Thus, as Lord Krishna explains in the end of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, any living being exhibiting an extraordinary power, ability, or authority must have been empowered by the Lord Himself or by the Lord's energy. Those directly empowered by the Lord are devoted to Him, and thus their power and influence spread goodness throughout the world. Whereas those who are empowered by the Lord's illusory potency are in an indirect relationship with Krishna, because they do not directly reflect His will. Of course, they do reflect His will indirectly, since it is by Krishna's arrangement that the laws of nature act upon ignorant living beings, gradually persuading them through their journey of many lifetimes to surrender to the Supreme Lord. Thus, as create wars, false hopes, and innumerable passionate schemes for the materialistic persons who follow them, the politicians are indirectly carrying out the Lord's program of allowing the conditioned souls to experience the bitter fruit of godlessness. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has translated the word Ishwaranam as those who have become powerful through knowledge and austerity. As one understands the nature and will of God and makes the personal sacrifice required to achieve excellence in spiritual life, one becomes empowered by the Supreme Lord to represent His will, which one has intelligently recognized and accepted. The Supreme Personality of Godhead kindly descends to earth to show a vivid example of religious behavior. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 3:24, if I did not execute standard duties, the whole world would be misled and in fact destroyed. Thus the Lord showed in His different incarnations how to act properly in this world. A good example is Lord Ramachandra, who behaved wonderfully as the son of King Dasharatha. But when Lord Krishna Himself descends, He also demonstrates the ultimate religious principle, namely that the Supreme Lord is beyond all other living beings and that no one can imitate His supreme position. This foremost of all religious principles, that the Lord is unique, without equal or superior, was clearly demonstrated in Lord Krishna's apparently immoral pastimes with the gopis. No one can imitate these activities without incurring dire consequences, as explained here by Shukadev Goswami. One who thinks that Lord ordinary living being is subjected to lust, or who accepts his Rasa Dance as admirable and tries to imitate it, will certainly be vanquished, as described in text 30 of this chapter. Finally, a distinction must be made between the Lord and his empowered servants. An empowered servant of the Lord, as in the case of Brahma, may experience a remnant of reactions to previous activities, according to the law of karma. But the Lord is eternally free from any entanglement in the laws of karma. He is on a unique platform. I would like to say something about this. This purport was so clear and so deep and so empowered that I cannot stop myself from saying that it was empowered by Srila Prabhupada. Not only that, but I would like to say that this may be at least one of the most, if not the most, glorious way to elevate Prabhupada, to glorify Prabhupada, to do something as his servant, as his disciple, or a group of disciples especially, that is so like his own ability to explain things clearly. Therefore, I would like to offer my humble obeisances right now on the spot, here in Govardhan, in this room, with intimate friends, and appreciate deeply the group of devotees, Srila Ridananda Goswami Maharaj, Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, and Dravida Prabhu, who compiled these translations and purports. This is the most difficult subject. It's not easy to explain it in such a way that just anyone can understand it. But if you're honest and sincere and heard this purport, and I pray that the devotees who are listening out there in cyberspace will read it again and again, just to get the point that I'm trying to make. When I was working with Gopi Puranadana Prabhu and Jayadvaita Maharaj in editing the Brihad Bhagavatam, which was Gopi Puranadana Prabhu's translation of the Brihad Bhagavatam, and the first ever translation of the commentary, the Digdarshani commentary, which is an auto-commentary by Sanatana Goswami. And we went through the process of going back and forth, trying to get it right, trying to make the English clear, transparent, of what Sanatana was saying, transparent to what he was saying. And when we did get it to that point, we looked at each other and we were misty-eyed. And we all three realized simultaneously that this is how the descending potency comes into devotional service in this age, in this particular time. Who of us, I don't know of anyone who would even think that we were empowered like Srila Prabhupada was empowered. But when we get together and sincerely try to cooperate together to do something that Srila Prabhupada really wanted to get done, that's how the descending potency comes in to devotional service. Even if as individuals we weren't so qualified. Text 32. All glories to the devotees of the Lord. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's sincere followers who have stuck loyally by his side and cooperated together to keep this International Society for Krishna Consciousness together and to expand it according to His will. Hare Krishna. Text 32. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill. And even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. Text 33. How then could the Lord of all created beings, animals, men, and demigods, have any connection with the piety and impiety that affect His subject creatures? Purport. As explained in text 32, personalities empowered by the Lord are free from the laws of karma. Then what to speak of the Lord Himself? After all, the law of karma is created by Him and is an expression of His omnipotent will. Therefore, His activities, which He performs out of His own pure goodness, are never subject to criticism by ordinary living beings. Text 34. Material activities never entangle the devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are fully satisfied by serving the dust of His lotus feet. Nor do material activities entangle those intelligent sages who have freed themselves from the bondage of all fruitive reactions by the power of yoga. So how could there be any question of bondage for the for the Lord Himself, who assumes His transcendental forms according to His own sweet will? Text 35. He who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. Purport. We certainly do not assume our bodies to enjoy transcendental pastimes as the Lord does. We eternal souls have accepted material bodies by force because of our foolish attempt to enjoy this material world. The Lord's forms are all eternal, spiritual existence, and cannot be reasonably equated with our temporary flesh. Since Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord dwelling within the gopis, their so-called husbands, and all other living beings, what possible sin could there be on His part if He embraces some of the beings He Himself has created? What fault could there be if the Lord goes with the gopis to a sacred place, since He already dwells within the most secret part of every living being, the core of the heart? Text 36. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show mercy to His devotees, He engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to Him. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains in this connection that when Lord Krishna descends to this world in His original two-handed form, out of kindness, He manifests that form in a way that His devotees conditioned in human society can perceive and understand. Thus, here it is stated, Manusham deham astitaha. He assumes a human-like body. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur glorifies the Lord's conjugal pastimes, stating that these romantic affairs have an inconceivable spiritual potency to attract the polluted heart of conditioned souls. It is an undeniable fact that any pure or simple-hearted person who hears narrations of the loving Krishna will be attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord and gradually become his devotee. You certainly can. I couldn't think of another thing I'd rather do. It is an undeniable fact that any pure or simple-hearted person who hears narrations of the loving affairs of Krishna will be attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord and gradually become his devotee. 37. The cowherd men, bewildered by Krishna's illusory energy, thought their wives had remained home at their sides. Thus, they did not harbor any jealous feelings against him. Purport. Because the gopis loved Krishna exclusively, Yogamaya protected their relationship with the Lord at all times, even though they were married. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes from the Ujjvala Nilamani as follows: Maya kalpita tadrik stri shilanena nusu yubihi najatu brajadevi nam patibi sahasangamaha. The gopis' jealous husbands consorted not with their wives, but with doubles manufactured by Maya. Thus these men never actually had any intimate contact with the divine ladies of Braja. The gopis are the internal energy of the Lord and can never belong to any other living being. Krishna arranged their apparent marriage to other men simply to create the excitement of parakya rasa, the love between a married woman and her paramour. These activities are absolutely pure because they are the Lord's pastimes, and saintly persons since time immemorial have relished these supreme spiritual events. 38. After an entire night of Brahma had passed, Lord Krishna advised the gopis to return to their homes. Although he did not wish to do so, the Lord's beloved consorts complied with his command. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 8:17, Lord Krishna explains, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Thus, 1,000 ages entered within a single 12-hour night when Lord Krishna performed Rasa Dance. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti compares this inconceivable compression of time to the fact that many universes fit neatly within the 40-mile range of earthly Vrindavan. One may consider that Mother Yashoda could not encircle the small abdomen of child Krishna with numerous ropes, and that at another time he manifested many universes within his mouth. The transcendence of spiritual reality above and beyond mundane physics is concisely explained in Srila Rupa Goswami's Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Evam Prabho Priyanam cha Damnas cha Samayasya cha Abhichintya Prabhavadvad Atra Kinchin Nadurgatam. Nothing is impossible for the Lord, his dear devotees, his transcendental abode, or the time of his pastimes, for all these entities are inconceivably powerful. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti further explains that the word Vasudeva Numodita indicates that Lord Krishna advised the gopis to assure the success of these pastimes, you and I should keep them secret. The word Vasudeva, a name of Krishna, also indicates Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, who acts as the predominating deity of consciousness. When the word Vasudeva, in this context, The word Vasudeva Nubodhita indicates that the presiding deity of consciousness, Vasudeva, manifested embarrassment and fear of their elders within the gopis' hearts, and therefore it was only with great reluctance that the young girls returned home. Text 39. Vikriditam Vrajavadud Vididang Chavishno Shadan Vito Nu Shunayad Atavarnayad Yaha Bhaktim Param Bhagavit Pratapilabjakamam Rid Rogam Ash Apihinot Achinain Diraha. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. Purport. The extraordinary power of Lord Krishna's conjugal pastimes is clearly revealed here. Qualitatively, the Lord's spiritual loving pastimes are the diametric opposite of material lusty affairs. So much so that simply by hearing about the pastimes, a devotee conquers sex desire. By reading pornographic literature or hearing about material romance, we certainly do not conquer sex desire, but rather increase our lust. But hearing or reading about the Lord's conjugal affairs has exactly the opposite effect, because they are of the opposite nature, being purely spiritual. Therefore, it is by the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna that he exhibits his Rasa Leela within this world. If we become attached to this narration, we will experience the bliss of spiritual love and thus reject the perverted reflection of that love, which is called lust. As nicely by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 2:59, Param Drishtva Nivartate. Once having directly experienced the Supreme, one will not return to material pleasures. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 33rd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Rasa Dance. Jai Shri Krishna, Radha Krishna, Gopi Bhav, Jai. Well done, well done. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. Hari Krishna. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And welcome back to this incredibly wonderful translation and commentary. Couldn't I say? Hare Krishna. Okay, we have our what we call our open mic time. And first person up is Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this ecstatic reading in this Kartik Mas in Govardhan Hill. The couple verses back, the gopis have doubles, and then Krishna asked them to return home. So did they stay somewhere, or they returned home and just kind of flipped to their doubles and showed Krishna their real form? How did...
You can understand it when you go there. You can understand that when you go there. These are very confidential things that you can't, that we can't, at least I can't, hope to intrude, stick my nose into something like that. All we know is that the gopis danced with but their spiritual bodies and their bodies stayed in the bed with their husbands. How that works when they go back, or if they ever go back, or this and that, that's something beyond our conception and beyond our ability to see. We would not want to speculate on that. We could, get out a commentary, try to find it, but the fact of the matter is that every one of these purports was mostly right out of the commentaries. So that's what the commentaries say. The gopis' bodies. I mean, we can say something that we heard in previous chapters, and that was that there were gopis who were coming up out of the material world to join Krishna in his Rasa Dance. And some of them could not go. They were stopped by their relatives. And our acharyas describe that those gopis' bodies were actually partly material and partly spiritual. And that they felt such intense separation from Krishna when they were prevented from going. They just stayed back in their rooms and just meditated on Krishna so powerfully and so deeply that Krishna actually came to them and embraced them. And they became, by that embrace, completely purified, and the material aspects of their body were destroyed, and therefore it sometimes says that they died or left their bodies. They didn't actually leave their bodies, but their bodies were completely spiritualized. And then, at another night, they could go out. But then, the rest of the time after that, they were considered to be mad women, and they couldn't take care of their babies or their this or that. And I mean, some acharyas say they just kind of wandered around the forest, looking for Krishna. They lost their competency to take care of their household affairs and everything. So how that works, and how the eternally liberated devotees of Krishna did all that. I mean, there is commentary about specifically Radharani, that she was never touched by the so-called husband, what's his name? Abhimanyu. That he was just a surrogate. He wasn't. The relationship never happened. He couldn't even touch her shadow. And as it says in the purports themselves, it says that this is all arranged by Krishna in order to increase the excitement of the Parakya Rasa. Because Parakya Rasa only happens in Vrindavan. Only in Braja does the Parakya Rasa manifest, where Krishna actually has, that excitement of being with other men's wives. And then another thing that we should think of, and this was also brought out in the first chapter, 29, and that is that Krishna was 8 years old at the time. And that we're thinking conjugal rhythm means this or that, but it's not that they did those kinds of things, sexual intercourse and all those kinds of gross things that we do in this world. Their forms are such that they can feel the full extent of pleasure of one sense with another sense. They can experience the full conjugal act just by looking. So these things are not conceivable. So to try to figure out the transcendental physics, as I put it, transcendental physics of how the gopis, when they went back, what happened, and they would merge into the material bodies again, or did they ever? That's beyond. I've never heard it analyzed like that. If I do, I'll let you know. If you come across it, let me know.
And also twice it's mentioned like a child playing with its own shadow.
Like that. And actually, one other aspect of this answer, and this answer will not satisfy materialistic persons. And therefore only devotees can understand these things and can accept them even when they are inconceivable. And that is the actual word achintya, inconceivable. If one can actually accept fully, without any doubt, that Krishna is inconceivable and can do anything. He can break the laws of nature. He can do anything. And that's how it's done. Ultimately, it was Krishna's will to do it like that. Just like it says, how, a full night, day and night of Brahma, 1,000 yugas, Divya yugas, it lasted 1,000 Divya yugas. Well, if he can do that, why can't he dance with Krishna, with gopi spiritual bodies, and have duplicate bodies be with their husbands? How that happens is inconceivable. And if you actually have full faith, then that's enough. Then you'll hear it, and you'll accept it, and you'll understand it through that process of hearing with full faith. Yes. Pranati Karuna.
In the second to last purport, we were hearing about the compression of time, and the purport says, this inconceivable compression of time to the fact that many universes fit neatly within the 40-mile range of earthly Vrindavan. I was wondering, what exactly does that mean?
Same answer. It means that all the universes and all the holy places in the universes are contained within Brajdam. In the same way that when Krishna opened his mouth and Mother Yashoda saw everything, all the universes inside his mouth. I mean, in the Brahma Samhita, it says that Krishna is inside each atom in full. The word is used, in full. That means if you go inside an atom, if you could do that, then you could see Krishna and all the universes in full inside the atom. And then theoretically, you could go to another, universe through that portal. That's what the science fiction writers, get their joy in speculating in those things. But they can't think those things unless there's some possibility. Otherwise, how could they? Prabhupada used to say, you can't think of anything that's not already thought of. It already exists. Can't make anything up, really. So when we drop the facade and our false pride and just accept, hey, I don't know anything. I better just accept this, whatever Krishna says. Then you get a greater ability to understand hearing. Anything else? Anyone else? Mahendra? Something? You usually have some most profound things to say. Here you go. Be careful with it.
Maharaj, I really appreciated your comment after that purport.
Say a little.
Uh,
Hold it closer.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, how I even wrote it down. How actually the potency comes when we together sincerely try to do what Prabhupada really wants something done. So we endeavor, and then the potency comes.
Would you like to hear the detail?
Yes.
Okay. I asked him if he'd like to hear the detail. This was the detail. We came to first of all, the process was, I was the trainee, and at the same time I was on the job, on the job training. And I would edit, I started to edit, and then it would go back to Gopi, the author, and he would make comments, things that needed to be looked at, So then I would go back and correct things, or then it go back and forth between he and I. And in the beginning, maybe up to 10 times. And then it would go to Jayadvaita Maharaj, and he would do polish edit. And then I would study the polish edit. And that's how I learned how to edit. And very rare circumstances. I was so fortunate. And then it would go back and forth between Gopi and Jayadvaita Maharaj, and refined even more to the Sanskrit. So after about, at least 3 or 4 times going back between those two, and another times back and forth between me and Gopi and me and Jayadvaita Maharaj, by the time that manuscript was at that state, it was pretty tight. Actually, even Dravida, because we gave him Dravida at this stage, we gave it to Dravida to read and give us comments. He wrote back, he said, "You guys have hit your stride, just keep on going. I can't find anything." So then the last stage, after all of that, the last stage is to hear out loud. Isn't this interesting?
Yes.
Because that's when you hear everything.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? I am fixed on this idea. Everyone should read the books out loud to themselves, even if it's slower. Because notice when I read slower, and it goes in, I think, can go in deeper. So anyway, so then we came to this one section of commentaries. It's when Gopakumar becomes Brahma for a short time by some fluke of providence. And the court of Lord Brahma is the personified Vedas. And during his tenure as Brahma, there was a discussion among the personified Vedas. And the discussion had something to do with whether or not the holy name could give liberation or love of God, or something like that. And Bhagavatam, the personified Bhagavatam, was there. All the Vedas are personified.
Yes.
And he was indignant. How you could even discuss this? And he walked out. And all the scriptures that follow him, they walked out with him. So then the debate went on without them, and they won the debate. They weren't there, but they won the debate. So Gopakumar is looking, he was like a 10-year-old kid at this point. And he looked at the face of the Bhagavatam, and he looked and he said, he knows. So he went after him, trying to bring him back, find out. So in those commentaries, and that conversation was so intricate, it was so deep and so difficult to translate. We were going through them, and we went through one, then we went through another, then all of a sudden, Jayadvaita just wait a second. Anybody who's questioning this person in terms of his ability to edit doesn't know. Just doesn't know him, doesn't know editing, I don't know what to say about that, more than that. He doesn't know. Yeah. And then we went back, and then he had Gopi go back to the Sanskrit, and he translated kind of literally these few words. I don't remember what the detail was. And sure enough, there was something that needed to be tweaked. And he tweaked it. And we read it again, and it just flowed, and then we understood. That was Sanatana Goswami's thought. And we looked at each other, and tears were in our eyes. And then I saw, that was how the empowerment came into that book. For anyone who I trust literarily, who reads that book, says it's the gold standard. That's the detail of how I had that realization.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, gentlemen, we will move on now. It's about an hour and a half, which is about par for the course for us for this format. We thank you so much, all of you. I hope you're back. I don't know how many, because of the time difference, you can be live. Did we have any comments from anybody to indicate that anybody was watching? Probably not.
People were watching.
Huh?
Some people were commenting about the quality.
Oh, really, the quality is not so good.
It's not perfect, but people are happy to see.
Not perfect, but is it, anyway, we'll see how it goes, because sometimes they may not hear everything, but when it's recorded, if everything's recorded, then they can get it, the flow. Anyway, thank you very much. Be patient with us. I'm saying this to everyone out there, our sincere followers of these readings. I realized recently that before long, we're up to chapter 34. Get to chapter 60, I think, or between 50 and 60, somewhere around there, we will have completed the whole Bhagavatam in this format. And that's a really big deal. And I want to make sure that all of it is, the recording is good enough so that everyone can hear it. And we're willing to re-record different sessions in order to do that. So please, anybody who has time and inclination, please go back and listen and proof hear, I guess you say. Proofread, proof hear, I don't know what you call it. We need proof hearers. That'd be a good test for your hearing capacity. A crew of proof hearers. So we can make this as perfect as possible. Lovely format. It was obviously conceived by Shishika Prabhu and myself in these Kartik readings, and now we're doing it every day, almost every day of the year. Maybe 4 or 8 days out of the year we've missed, that's all. And please stay with us. Please share these readings with others, and let them share, and let it spread. Let the hearing Srila Prabhupada's book spread to as many human beings as possible on the earth. And with that, we'll leave you for tonight. All glories to Srimad-Bhagavatam. All glories to Krishna and the gopis. All glories to the Rasa Leela. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, India time, at 4 o'clock. And one thing, on the 13th, what's today? 9th. On the 13th, I have to go to Delhi and get some tests done, x-rays and stuff. And on for 1 day. So unfortunately, my vow of doing every single day, no matter what, is going to be, I'll miss 1 day. And from then on, not except if I'm on a long haul flight. So I'll see you tomorrow up until the 12th. 13th I'll miss 1 day. Then on the 14th we'll go through until we get on the plane on the 5th to go to the UK. And then we'll be there until the 9th, when we'll have another off day, when we're on the plane going to Houston. And then after that we'll have 9 straight months at least of every day. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.